said that you've been lonely, makes you cold as ice. Hard to get to know me, but better than the lights. No way I'd let you slip by. No way I'd let you say bye. You said there ain't no reason, but I'll sit here every day, waiting for the moment I won't feel like I should stay. No way I'd let you slip by.
So let us get started. I am using a 4mm for this project and a lightweight yarn. I will leave all the materials used down below. You can use a medium weight yarn for this project as well if you don't have a lightweight yarn available. And we are going to start by making a slip knot. Right after your slip knot, you are going to go ahead and chain 11. After your 11 chains, you are going to go ahead and go into the second chain, which is this right here, with a double crochet stitch. So you're skipping the first and into the second, you're going to yarn over, insert your crochet hook into the chain. You're going to grab the yarn and pull through. At this point, you should have 3 loops. You are going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and you're going to yarn over and pull through the last. You are going to go into the next chain with a double crochet, and you're carefully just going to go ahead and repeat 1 double crochet until you get to the very end of the chain. And remember, we chained 11. The chain 1 is an extra chain, which is just a turning chain. So that means at the end of this first row you should have a total of 10 double crochets, because again you did see that we skipped the first chain, so that leaves us with a total of 10 stitches. So you can count your stitches just to make sure that you have a total of 10 stitches. For row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and right into this very first double crochet stitch, you're going to insert a double crochet stitch. And from there on, you are going to go ahead and insert 1 double crochet into every stitch from the previous row. So at the end of this row as well, you should have a total of 10 stitches. So you're not increasing and you're not decreasing your stitches. And this is what you should have after your second row. For your third row, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and right into the very first stitch you're going to insert 2 double crochets. So this is going to be our first increase, and right after you're going to go ahead and insert 1 double crochet each until you get to the very last stitch where you're going to insert 2. So you want to make sure that you're inserting 2 at the very beginning and 2 at the very end, so you're increasing evenly. So 2 at the very beginning, 2 at the very end for the end of the row. So this is what you should have at the end of row 3. We are going to start at row 4, but this is going to be another different pattern for increasing. So remember, for row 3 we just increase at the very beginning, at the very end. For row 4 we are going to spread the increase in a bit. So you're going to chain 1 and turn, and right into this very first double crochet stitch you are going to go ahead and insert 2 double crochet stitches. And into this next double crochet you are going to insert 1 double crochet, and now we have a total of 3 double crochets. Into this next double crochet stitch you are going to insert 2 double crochets. So you're going to yarn over and go into the next with 2 double crochet stitches. Into this next you're going to go with 1, into this next with 2, and this is what you're going to alternate with until you get to the end of the row. So basically 1 double crochet into the next, and make sure into the next stitch that comes right after you're going to insert 2. Carefully just repeat this increase pattern until you get to the very end of the row. And when you get to the very end, if your last stitch ends with 2 double crochets in that space, you want to make sure that you do that as well. And right there we have increase. This is another row 4. So for row 5, we are going to chain 1 and turn. And for row 5, we're not doing any increasing. We're going to go ahead and go into this very first stitch with a double crochet stitch. And right after, you're going to go into this next stitch with a double crochet stitch. And basically repeat 1 double crochet until you get to the ends, because we're not increasing for this part, for this row. And just like that, we just finished row 5. You can see that we're already increasing the size of the pattern. From here on, we are going to go ahead and do row 6. And for row 6, we are repeating the same step for row 4. So again, you're going to chain 1 and turn. And into this very first stitch, you are going to insert 2 double crochets. Into this next, 1 double crochet. Into this next stitch, 2 double crochets. And you're going to repeat this exact step until you get to the end of the row. So basically row 6 is just the same as row 5. So right here, when you're coming to the very end of row 6, yes, you want to make sure that you still go into this. Remember, we did a double crochet into that space, so you want to go into every stitch across, guys. Don't skip any stitch. And I'm going to go in that last stitch with a double crochet, an extra double crochet, because my previous stitch before then was just 1 double crochet stitch. Hopefully you guys can see. So you can see that we're evenly just increasing as we go, because we want to make sure that this gets wide enough to fit around the front part of our body, because of full coverage. Again, obviously this is going to be different for different sizes. So for the next row, which is row 7, we are going to repeat row 5. So you're going to chain 1 and turn. Into this very first stitch, you are going to insert a double crochet. And because for row 5 we did not increase, we are not going to increase for row 7. So we're just going to insert 1 double crochets until you get to the very end of this row. And this is what we have after row 7. So we are now going to repeat. For a size medium, you are going to do, which I did, so mine is medium to large. I did a total of 12 rows. So I am going to alternate between the increase row and the double crochet row for a total of 12 rows until I have a total of 12. So I basically have to do 5 more sets because I'm now at row 7. So if you're making a size bigger than large, I would suggest you do, instead of 12, you can do 14. And if you're making a size smaller, instead of 12, you can do 10 rows. That's honestly it. You're just basically going to subtract 2 rows from each. So for the next row, which is row 8, I'm going to chain 1, and I will go into this very first stitch with a double crochet stitch. And I'm going to go back into that same stitch with an additional double crochet because I'm increasing. Into this next with 1 double crochet, into this next with 2 double crochets, into this next with 1 double crochet, into this next with 2 double crochets. And I'm going to repeat this until I get to the very end of row 8. So I have 10 rows right here, and if you're making a size extra small and small, you are going to stop right here with your increasing. But I am making a size medium to large, so I already did mention that I'm going to do a total of 12 rows. This is a total of 10 rows, but I wanted to just show you guys what it looks like. If you're making a size small, extra small, you're still going to go ahead and do a total of 12 rows, but you're not going to increase anymore. So you're basically going to chain 1 and go right into this stitch with 1 double crochet, and then into your next row with 1 double crochet. But then if you're making a medium to large like me, you're still going to go ahead and do your next row of double crochet, and then your last row of increasing. And if you're making a size bigger, I would suggest you add 2 more rows to that. So instead of 12, you're going to end up to do 14 rows of increasing. So you're going to go into the next, which is going to be row 11 in my case, with no increasing. And into row 12, you're going to go with your increase row 13 or increasing in row 14 or you increase in your last set of increasing. So you're going to do that, and then I am going to do mine as well, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's a total of 12. Yeah, this at the end of the row, you can see that the increasing literally just increased itself. Like the name goes. We are now going to go ahead and start working on the body itself. So I have a total of 12 rows. If you're doing a size extra small, you should have a total of 12, and if you're doing a size bigger, you should have a total of 14 rows in total. So from here on, we are going to go ahead and chain a chain that is going to connect to the opposite side. For size small, extra small, I'll suggest you chain 50. For a size medium to large, I am going to chain a total of 65, and for size extra large upwards, you can add 15 chains to it. So right here I have my total of 65 chains. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the chain is straight. So go back and check the straight chain before you go ahead and attach this to the opposite side. So right into this very first stitch on the opposite side of the panel, you are going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top stitch. Right into the very first, you are going to slip stitch, and now you have a connect panel. From here on, you are going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to work into the chain you just created with double crochet stitches. So right into this very first chain, you're going to yarn over and insert a double crochet stitch. From there on, you're going to go into the next chain with 1 double crochet, and just continue to do 1 double crochet stitches until you get to the end of the chain. We are coming to the very end of the chain. So right there I have my single crochet chain. You are going to go ahead and straighten this chain just to make sure that you keep a straight line before you attach this to the next side. So from here on, we are going to go ahead and go right above the stitch with a double crochet. And from there on, you are going to repeat 1 double crochet along the pattern until you get to the very edge of the chain. So basically until you get to the opposite side with 1 double crochet into each and every stitch. So do not skip any stitch, and don't go into a stitch with an extra double crochet. So when you're coming to the opposite side, you still want to make sure that you're going into each and every stitch with a double crochet. Do not skip any stitch. And to end of the first row, you are going to find your very top stitch, and you're going to go into that very top with a slip stitch. And this is how you're just carefully going to end off your row. For the next row, we are going to do an increase row. So you're going to chain 1 and turn, because we will be working on the opposite side of the panel. But then after you chain 1, you're going to go back into that same stitch with a double crochet stitch, because the chain 1 is not a stitch, it is just a turning stitch, turning chain. From there on, you're going to go into that back into that very first chain with a double crochet, and right after, because we're increasing, you're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch with one more additional stitch, double crochet stitch. From there on, into your next double crochet stitch, you are going to insert 1 double crochet. Into your next double crochet stitch, you're going to insert 2 double crochets. Into your next stitch, 1 double crochet. Into your next with 2. You're basically doing the same increase pattern all around until you get to the end of this row. I just finished I think this is my 14th row. Yes, this is 14th. We are now going to go ahead and do the same thing by slip stitching into that very first stitch. So, but you still want to make sure that you go into this last stitch with your last double crochet. That way you're not decreasing your stitches. So I'm going to go into this very top the first double crochet we made with a slip stitch. It does look different because we chained one and turned, so keep that in mind. But then remember that we also did increase, so that's why it looks different. So you want to carefully go into the very first one instead of just the second one. You want to make sure that you're going into the very first one. Don't do the same mistake. From here on, we are going to do the next row, which is a chain one and turn, and into the very first stitch again you're going to insert a double crochet, and into the next with a double crochet, and into the next with a double crochet. So we're just doing one double crochet into every stitch until we get back to the very beginning of the row. Hey guys, so we are coming to the very end of row 15. So we want to go into this very top chain and slip stitch. I want to make sure that you want to make sure that you identify where your last stitch is. So if you have to use a stitch marker to do that, do so. So right after you create your first stitch, use a stitch marker to mark that very first stitch. So when you're going back into that stitch, you can know exactly where your slip stitch is, where to slip stitch, sorry. But also if you look at this very first stitch, it does look different from the rest of the stitches, so you can also use that to identify your very first stitch. So right into this very top very first stitch, I am going to slip stitch to end of this row 15, and for row 16 we are going to do one more increasing. So we'll increasing for row 16, and row 17 is just, and the rest of the rows are going to be different. So for row 16 you're going to chain one again and turn, and again the increase pattern in this pattern is basically 2 double crochets into your very first stitch, 1 double crochet into your next, 2 double crochet into the next right after, and 1 double crochet into the next. And this is our last increase for this pattern. Right after this increase, you are just going to go into every stitch with 1 double crochet. So you're going to slip stitch again at the very end, at the very first stitch, and then you're going to end off the row, chain one and turn, and continue to do after double crochet stitches, sorry, all around, making sure you're still slip stitching into this very top chain and you're turning. And this is what you're going to repeat until you have your desired length. You can make this as a top, you can make this as a dress, you can make this super long like maxi dress as well. It's probably going to take you more time, so that is honestly what the pattern is about. To do that, when I have a full length, I'll show you guys what the next step is. So we are going to end off my last row at the bottom with a slip stitch into the very chain 3. Honestly, just the same way you've been ending off each row. So you're going to find your top chain, and you're going to slip stitch into that. And I like to just chain an extra one, and I will cut off my yarn, and I will sew in the loose ends. We are now going to go up on the top, the upper part, and we're going to do something a little bit different. This is where you're going to be needing your elastic band, but first you're going to grab your working yarn, and we are going to attach that to this side of the pattern. So at the very top, into your very first stitch, you are going to reattach your yarn with a secure knot. And I like to just go back with an extra knot just to make sure it's super secure. And from here on, we are going to single crochet around. So we're going to go into this very first stitch, and you're going to chain one, and I like to go back into that very first place with a single crochet, and from here on I am going to go into this next with a single crochet, into this next with a single crochet, and just basically single crochet around the very top of the panel. And when I get to this last stitch, I like to go in there too with a single crochet. From here on, we are going to work our way down to the side of the panel. To do that, all you have to do is you're going to single crochet into every available space. Again, I can't really tell you how many single crochets you'll be needing for this part, but you can carefully see that I can single crochet without attaching more than one into any space. So you're just going to make sure there is no gap between your single crochet stitches, but at the same time you are not going into one space with 2 single crochets, because then you will be increasing, and if you leave a gap, that means you will be decreasing, and we're not doing any of those. So we're just carefully going to single crochet just this way until I get to the very end. Just like that. And this is just going to knit in the sides of the panel so we can have a very good finishing. But this is optional. If you don't think you have the time to do this, then you don't have to, but I suggest you do, because this is definitely going to give you a finishing, a perfect finishing. So right there you can see that I'm coming to the very end, so I'm just going to still continue with my single crochet. So I'm going all around the entire panel until I get back to this very top. So right here I am coming to the very first stitch. I am going to slip stitch into that very top single crochet I created. From here on we're going to chain a total of 100 chains. So this is what your chain should look like. Right after, you're going to chain an extra one, and into the second chain you're going to insert a single crochet. You can use a single crochet, half double crochet, or double crochet. I think I'm going to use a half double crochet instead. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go into the second chain with a half double crochet stitch, and I'm carefully just going to go ahead and do one half double crochet into the next chain. So basically right into the 100 chains I just did, I'm going to insert one half double crochet each into every chain until I get back to the very end of the chain. So right here I'm coming to the very top of the chain. We are now going to go ahead and single crochet. So you're basically stopping with your half double crochet, and into this very first space you're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet until you get to the edge. You still want to make sure you go into that edge with a single crochet, and from here on you're going to chain another 100. So that is going to be 101 actually, and that is going to be your second strap. So you're basically chaining 101, and you're going to go back into your chain with a half double crochet stitch. So right here I have my row. I am going to go ahead and slip stitch a single crochet, sorry, into that. And now we have 2 straps. So what I'm going to do from here on is I'm just going to go one more round around. So basically from here all around until I get to the side. Again, just one more with a single crochet row. So right in there I'm gonna go with one single crochet into every stitch across all the way to the opposite side. You can still use half double crochet for this, but I just wanted to use a single crochet and differentiate this from the strap, but you can use whatever stitch that you want to use. So I'm just going to repeat this until I get to the opposite side. Right here I'm coming to the very top. I just want to single crochet my way up until the very top, and when I get to the very top, I don't know what I'm going to call it, I'm going to slip stitch, because from here on I'm just going to chain one and cut off my yarn, and then I'll go ahead and sew in this loose end as well. Honestly, you can go ahead and sew in all your loose ends if you have them, and do the necessary step, and You can also keep in mind that you guys can make this as long as you want to. You don't have to make it short like I did. Do whatever you want to do. You can even make this as a top as well. I think I love the top version because when I was adding the length, I wanted to put this on and see what the length was looking like. And I also feel like this will look so cute with a top and maybe with the leggings this summer if you don't want to make an entire dress. But this is the final look. Let me know what you guys think. And if you have any questions, as always, you can leave them in the comment and I'll make my time to answer your questions. I will also have the written pattern up on my website or up on my Etsy, wherever you prefer to get the pattern from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do and join the family and like this video so I know you guys enjoy patterns like this, and also so YouTube can show this to more people because we want to grow the community, right? I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.